and I just welcome the class. We're going to be starting the lesson now. We talked a little bit about the project and the upcoming semester, half of the semester, I should say. This is the week number 7. We have a break week next week, and then we come back for 7 more weeks, and that's when we heavily focus on Figma for the rest of the semester. Today is going to be more like a wrap up with XD, an introduction to the next interesting, important assignment. I'm going to share my screen now, and we're going to be looking at my material that I'm going to share with you. Don't forget, today the UI kit for the mobile app is due, so make sure you submit that on Blackboard. A PDF should be just fine because I can parse it and open it up in Illustrator. If you did it in another program, provide me the work files so I can see what you did, okay? And more as we get into these things now, I'm asking students to give me like rough drafts, thumbnails, drawings, so I know you did the work, right? Because I know there's a lot of websites out there that there's things you can get and copy and paste. I mean, I already gave you a UI kit to work with, so I don't mind if you borrow like the little hearts and emojis and likes and stuff. You can copy and paste that, but the overall design and the theme, that's something that you have to make. All right. It also holds a good status in your portfolio as well. Right. There's another UI kit that you're going to be doing later on. So after this next assignment, you have 2 more. Okay, for the rest of the semester. The one I introduced earlier, I talked about briefly, was the group project. Okay, so that's the big one. You're going to present that at the end of the semester. So I know you're doing portfolio classes with your web class and your other class. So instead of being too repetitive and doing it in my class, because it was getting redundant, and I saw the students' expression, they were like, oh no, another portfolio class, right? So I switched it up to become the mobile group project. But in between that, I switched this one here to give you an introduction to interactive type of projects as well. So without further ado, let's talk about it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this UX UI interactive game assignment. And I call that a game because that's exactly what you're going to be creating. It could be like a knowledge game, could be like a little quiz, a little something that's fun for you to create for all ages. All right, so here's the content. So it's UX UI interactive game assignment. All right, the Curious Cosmos. I just made up a theme for you to use. And I created a space theme, similar to something we did last week with the Predator ball. You don't have to do this theme. If you want to do a different theme altogether, please do so. I always give the students the opportunity to come up with their own creative theme. Remember last week we did the treasure chest and the shamrock, and we did a basketball bouncing. So you can come up with anything. This is a space theme. So let's just pretend this is the theme that we're doing, because I'm going to do this today with you and show you how to approach the project, build it, put it together, and basically lay it all out. So I'm going to do this with you tonight. This way you have everything on how to do like step by step, so you don't get lost along the way. And next week when you have the break week, you should be totally focused on this and do it all by yourself. So my goal is to have you gain independence into doing this all alone. So here's the objective: design a simple interactive game for all ages that explores the wonders of space. Utilize basic UX UI elements, navigation, and animation to create an engaging learning experience. The theme, I chose space exploration, or you can pick your own theme. Requirements. So the interface, which is the main page, this is a really, really big part of your rubric, I guess. I want to see this really emphasized. You're going to design an attractive and user-friendly main page or home page that serves as the starting point of the game. Include a clear title. In this case, I use the Curious Cosmos, and a brief introduction to the game's purpose. So talk a bit about like, what are you supposed to do? Remember we talked a bit about that in the earlier slideshow lessons I did about UX. You have to give people hints. You have to tell them exactly, clear instructions, something simple and straightforward. Okay. The navigation is something we're going to implement today as well. Okay, implement basic navigation using buttons. Include at least 4 buttons leading to different sections. A button doesn't have to be a round or a rectangle object. A button could be a little icon or something, or you can create like the button could be this projector. When I click on it, it turns on, right? You can do a lot of visual effects with buttons, right? So buttons can be anything. Anything you decide to have a button. Last week, the shamrock was the moving object, and that became the trigger tap button. The treasure chest also was a button to go back. I'll cover that in a moment just to kind of see where we left off. The planets, since this is a, you know, intergalactic space theme, the planets it's a section, let's say, like an example. This section should showcase various planets in our solar system with basic information and visuals. So obviously this is like an interactive learning game for children. That's a good way to put a little thing together. Stars or galaxies. This section should introduce different types of galaxies and their characteristics. And finally, we have the spacecraft. The section could display different types of spacecraft used in space exploration with short descriptions. Fun facts, that's another section you can have. This section can present interesting facts and trivia about space for players to explore. Ensure smooth transitions between sections using basic animation like fading in and outs and slides. Again, this is all stuff we did last week. Today I'm going to reiterate it and do a little more and make it a little different for you to learn from. All right. Here's the deliverable, okay? A digital prototype of your game utilizing Adobe XD. All right, now, some of you that don't have XD, I know you guys are using Figma and some other programs. If you want to make an alternative solution to this, I don't mind, but that's only an exception. I'm expecting everyone to use XD because it's a lot easier to do this in XD. So you're going to learn the difference between what to do in XD and what to do in Figma. They're two separate tools. One can do one thing, one can do another thing. I mean, they're both very similar, to be honest with you. But as far as animation interaction, I find XD to work really, really well. Showcasing the main page, navigation of buttons, and at least one additional section with basic information and animation. A brief document outlining your design decision and a thought process, which is optional, local XD file to be submitted. Sometimes the links get broken. So basically, give me a little brief. Tell me what exactly you're doing. You can put that on a Word document, or you can, you know what students do? They comment in the section where they submit the project. You can give me a little note. Some of you already do this already. I like to see your idea. So this way, when I open your project, I know what to expect. Okay, so write me a little something, a little paragraph of what it is that you're doing. Okay, it makes me more acquainted with your presentation. Remember, have fun and be creative. Focus on a user-centered design approach. All the stuff we've learned so far with the UX slides I'll be covering, considering ease of use and engagement. Keep it simple and polished. A basic, well-designed game is more effective than a complex, unfinished one. This assignment allows you to explore the fundamentals of UX, UI design for an interactive experience. Embrace your creativity and embark on a journey through the curious cosmos. All right, so that's the whole brief there. If you look at the actual assignment rubric, this is something that we all have to kind of stick by with this stuff. So you have excellent, good, and satisfactory and unsatisfactory. So it's 40% creativity, okay? Technical, how much technical knowledge or execution you used of the complexity of the applications. And the criteria is, did you meet all the requirements that I asked you to do? Okay, so that's basically goes across most of the assignments that you've received so far, right? And overall, it's at a 30%. It's a good chunk of your grade. So, so far, I think all of you are looking good. I don't see any red flags. So keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a good job, and keep, plugging along. Any questions? Do you have to do space theme? No, you can do something else. Okay. You can do, I don't know, what are you into? Like, how about the Euro 2024 soccer? You can do like a soccer. You can pick your two favorite teams and you can have a little section about one team or another team, and then you can do an interactive thing about that. Okay. You can do almost any theme you like, food, whatever. Have some fun. It's going to be a fun interactive experience. Okay. Because you know what? I want to take you away from the typical websites app kind of design because you're going to do that later. And you're already doing websites with Felicia's class. I know that already. So I want to kind of change it up a bit. So make it more immersive. And after that, when you do the group assignment, you have no choice but to do a mobile app with the website together, like a package combo. You're going to do a website and an app after this. All right, I'm going to close this down now, and we're going to look at the actual items for today. So we're under this is class number 7. I'm going to move this down here though. So this is the navigation information wireframe design PDF. I'm going to download this one first. Cover this quickly here. It's a short read. Yeah. Oh, let me make sure. Good point, because I did do the draft today. I was doing some tweaking. So let me see, making sure you guys have it there. Okay. Let me just double check that. Because I did it from the assignment portion of the page. Um, um, what the heck did it go? Mm, so for design UI, I think I shoved it under here somewhere. I think it's the last one actually. Double check here. 12. Aha, it's over here. I kind of what I did was I misplaced it into the other folders. You should see it. I mean, you could have seen it anyways on the calendar, but you should be able to see it now with the proper area. Okay. Right, we're gonna go right here. So it's under the information and architecture and wireframing module. To see UX UI interactive game assignments. This is right here. Every time you look for assignments, I mean, you can just go to the calendar, right? You can totally, like, if you look at the month, you can see all the things here as well when it's what due. Better yet, if you go to gradebook, you can see all the assignments here listed like this, okay? Like on this view. So you can click on this one, the fourth one here. This is the UX UI interactive game assignment. This is the fourth one down, okay? This was the one you just did. You're looking for this one. Again, another place is to go to it's right here under the information architecture and wireframing module. I try to keep the assignments within the modules that you're doing them in so you don't get lost all over the place as it did before. If we, class 1, for example, I should have kind of put them on the outside. I know that's something that I wanted to do myself here. Class 2 was this one here, class number 3. Here's a persona assignment. So this should have been over here, just to kind of keep it a little more neutral for you. And then the UI kit was over here. Keep that out. Okay, so I'm going to keep them outside. They're more noticeable this way. So under each module, you should see like the assignments kind of show up. These are the two we did there. And for this one, you see the assignment right here. Okay, so it's under the information architecture and wireframing. And you'll see the weeks like class 6, class 7. So whenever you see what week we're in, this is number 7. So you'll see it over here, the same area. Now let's see where we left off. We had a lot of fun last week. I know we went to Photoshop, even designed our own theme from scratch. We created this alien looking ball with the background, and then we brought it into Adobe XD. And if you open up the XD file, we made it, and I gave you all this stuff to access. You can open this, download it from Blackboard, which is all here under class number 6. There's the XD file if you want to see how I did it. There's this sci-fi theme for Photoshop file. There's the treasure chest items and the treasure chest game as well. Okay, so we did lots of cool things here. We start off with this theme. And we made it more realistic, like a bouncing effect. So if we click on it, it just went away. If you click again, it goes back. So it's a very simple interactive thing we did back and forth. I think we did a treasure chest game where this was also interesting. We had and today we'll make, I know it was only like, I mean, technically we did 2 weeks of XD. So this is like the third technical lesson. And this is the final one. Okay. So after today, I want to, obviously, after the break, we'll do Figma. But this is the, I think you need one more solid lesson to get you more familiar with these techniques. That's what I want to do today. Okay. So this is going to be, more like the 6 pages or 6 artboard prototype here. And we had a game of the thing moving around. If we catch it, oops, right. Congratulations. And it goes back. I want to make sure you all understand and can execute this all on your own. Okay. So far as me, instead of giving you resources, we're going to create like different types of objects and elements and then replace those with real graphics. Okay. So we're going to do the interface today and get this done. Back to this here. All right, and there's navigation info. So today you'll have, I think I put the wireframes there as well. I think I have another copy of it. Yeah, this is just a duplicate of this. I can just delete this file. Just a backup wires mobile 1 XD file. This is a really good one. If this is going to help you with some of the buttons and icons and creations, you can use that as reference. Okay, so it's there for you to have. And I think that was it. And there's the Adobe XD tutorials, and there's the chest items. Wireframe design. Let me just see this navigation. This is wrapping up the skeleton plane of what we've been covering for the past few weeks as well for the UX side. Some of this is already repetitive, so I'm not going to read it all to you. I'm just going to skip to the parts that we maybe haven't talked about. So let's just keep in mind here, navigation design is important. This is why you're doing this game, right? So basically from sitemap to the screen, you have to have a sitemap. Without a sitemap, I can't see you make a website or an app or any type of interactive game. You got to create a sitemap to create like a flow or an actual plan to go forward. Okay. The navigation system, along with content and context, should help a user understand where they are. Navigation design typically starts with the sitemap. This is all part of the skeleton phase. Okay. And this is passing the trunk test, it's called. This is Steve Krug. Don't make me think. He's a UX strategist. So they came up with this thing called a trunk test. The trunk test means you're blindfolded and dropped off in the same random area. And can you answer these questions? Where am I? How did I get here? What can I do here? Where can I go from here? So these are all important questions you got to ask yourself as a user as they look at your interface or your website or your app or your screen. Can they predict what to do? Are they going to guess? Let's click over here and hope for the best. That's not the case, right? And yes means basically provides a strong sense of place, sets the correct expectations, and make it possible for you to accurately predict the outcomes of your interactions. Okay, so please make sure these things are fundamentally established, okay? And something that's important, navigation design, okay? So how do you find what you want? Basically, browsing with a navigation system. Another way people are used to finding information these days is searching, right? From Google to your operating system to your phone, you can search anything and type it in and find it. I see more and more people now, even people that don't know how to use computers. I work with a lot of salespeople or business people. They don't know how to file manage folders. They're not savvy with file management. So you know what they do? Even emails, they just use the search to find stuff. And so I go to myself, if that doesn't work, what would you do? They don't know anything else. It's something that's programmed in their head. They just search for everything, you know? They'll search for my name to see my emails, which makes sense. But I mean, I'm more organized person. I don't know if you guys do this. I got folders and files. I'm more organized with what I'm looking for. I catalog my stuff, right? Archive. I'm not just going to rely on searching for something because sometimes when you search, you can't find what you're looking for. Anyways, that's an important method of navigation. So it's not just buttons, it's also search. Now, we can't do search in XD or Figma. It's not a dynamic database with a query, but definitely if you implement that on a WordPress website or some kind of another catalog website, you could do a search list menu, okay? Using filters to narrow large lists of sets of information. Pagination controls. This provides location information, sense of depth of breadth, ability to navigate large information sets. Here's another more complex interface. Again, with the navigation design, this could work, right? And this is like an e-commerce analytical, I think it's Google Analytics or something like that. Like, look how complex this is. Have you guys seen the Google console before? Have you seen the Amazon Web Services console? It's very, very complex. Even to like, you know, not to say my level, but people that I know that work with that for a living, even they tell me like, don't mess up because you're gonna pay $100,000 a month if you make a mistake. Because Amazon Web Services has no limits. You can do a lot of cool things with the advanced web implementation. So if you don't know how to use this console, you can make a really big mistake and mess up something important and integral, and it'll cost you. So again, something complex like that needs a good interface to know how to manage the workflow. Same as using Salesforce. I don't know if you're familiar with that software, right? Even WordPress has a certain interface that you use to build websites. Wix.com, you've seen those guys. They'll have like even GoDaddy has this kind of interface so you can WYSIWYG a website. You still have to get used to the interface to do it. So some people prefer to code HTML. Some people prefer to use like a WYSIWYG. All right. Revealing depth. How can we reveal the depth of a site content before people navigate? So dynamic submenus on the main site, navigation menu, the hover state, search result, volume filtering, and pagination. Both provide feedback along with a clear sense of place. Use indicators and context to provide a sense of place. All elements contribute. I think we mentioned this a little earlier, just a quick recap. Okay. A website like, you know, let's say Amazon even, right? Or Home Depot or Canadian Tire, Shoppers Drug Mart, all these, you know, stores, brick and mortar stores or online stores. They organize their stuff by categories, right? And sometimes it's alphabetical. So if you see the categories here, it's easier to shop or to buy things. Appliance, bath, building materials, decor, doors, electrical, flooring, kitchen. See, it's all alphabetical. And, people typically estimate based on what they see, how much useful information they're likely to find on a given path. After going down the path, they compare the actual outcome with their predictions. When a visitor is no longer expected to find useful into the current path, they move to another source of the path, like another menu, another drop-down menu, basically. Okay. The path is rarely direct, basically. So some of these links are basically within like contextual links. I don't know if you've done those before. A lot of articles on websites have those. If you go to Wikipedia, it's known for that. Usually links are blue and they're underlined. Notice how the links are always blue and they have an underline. That's like a default thing for href, hyper reference link. So those are contextual links. Although nav bars are common, they're not the only method of finding your way. We talked about icons and labels. Okay, representative or representational icons have clear meanings, and abstract icons require more context and experience to learn their meanings. So some people might recognize what a trash can does, but if you see this radioactive symbol, they might not know what exactly that means. Tips for solid navigation: use meaningful labels for navigation, menu items like buttons, links, and buttons. Reduce memory load by ensuring the navigation and links are visible, findable, and informative. The trick is to reduce cognitive friction by ensuring that people don't need to study or decode the navigation system. You want them to find the useful information quickly, not spend time looking for it. And I think we just mapped before, it's not a scavenger hunt. Being consistent is important. Use the same interactions, behaviors, and visual styles. This is why the UI kit, I think, was important for you to be familiar with how the buttons, the colors stay consistent so the UI kit will work accordingly. You don't want to use too many different styles because it'll just won't fit together nicely or cohesively. Elements of navigation should never appear or disappear, rearrange their order, or move to a different location. Even changing the organization of the page underneath the nav can disrupt someone's understanding of how things work. This is like I think a City of University of London website, and it shows how some of the consistency in the way the menus work is an example to what we're just discussing. Right. Information design is the glue. Very important. Information design. Okay. How do we present information so people understand it more easily? Information design is visual, but that doesn't mean we're focused on the finished look and feel. Our focus is on the effectiveness of the form. Does it communicate clearly? Think of it as sense making. Good information design supports the goal of both user and creator. What does that look like? That's an old record from the 1970s. I don't know if you guys been to the library like lately, but if you go to the library over here in Toronto, like on Yonge and Bloor, I think it's further north, they still have records like that. You can look up old information, like old cards. I know it's online right now, a lot of the stuff, but this is how people would find information. So look at this. This is the title. It's called Art Modern 20th Century Address, Essay Lectures, Bond Stephen Comp. This is the title. This is the New York Viking Press, the publisher. This is the year 1974. This is some other information and this here. So this, look how it's really hard to look at and focus on. This is how things were kind of set up back then. There was no cohesive, no order. There was no real substructure. So context is everything. Information elements should be grouped and arranged in ways that reflect how users think, match what they expect, support their tasks and goals. Look at the left, look at the right side. Context is everything. By now, most of us are trained to follow the right column, not the left column. Do you see what I mean? You can't just make stuff up. You can't put the order on the left. You can't put state, email, job title, phone number, name, zip code, company, city, right? It's got an order. Every form, even the government, when you fill something out, the first thing is your name. What's your name? Right? What do you do? What company do you work for? Right? What's your address? What city? What state? What's your zip code? Then your phone number, then your email address. That's how forms are set up. So you can't deviate from this. You have to follow the script, okay? Make sure you follow this order. Otherwise, it won't follow the whole, the rules of engagement. Another organization method is alphabetical. Use alphabetical when information is referential, like a dictionary or encyclopedia. That's the only way you can put things in alphabetical order, like your phone, right? Look at your contacts, it's alphabetical order. This is why a lot of stuff is alphabetical. Even categories are alphabetical. Efficient, nonlinear access to specific items is required. No other organization strategy is appropriate. This is when you should use alphabetical. Would you use alphabetical here? No, right? This is different. This is a field. But if you're doing something like this, like a list of names or a phone book, or then use alphabetical. This is called categorical. This is the Home Depot example I gave you earlier. This is when even this is alphabetical, but also categorical at the same time. Clusters of similarity exist within the information, like, college catalog, statistical report. People will naturally seek out information by category, department store or an e-commerce website, as I mentioned earlier. This is a good example, Home Depot. This is a continuum, organizing by magnitude. I see that a lot of stuff on those YouTube videos, the top 10 or the top 20 of something. Lowest to highest, worst to best, right? Search engine results, baseball statistics, comparing things using a common measure, a processor speed, amount of storage space. So this is where you use like magnitude. Location method. Orientation and wayfinding are important. So if you have a map application, like Google Maps or Waze or even Uber Eats and stuff, or Uber uses a map organizing method, because the first thing they want to know is where are you going on the geographical map. Orientation and wayfinding are important. Emergency exit maps, travel guides. Information is contextually related to geography. And there's another one, time. Okay. If you look at you guys have TV at home? I still pay cable, right? You got Bell or Rogers or some other cable network. You have what's called a TV guide, right? And you can see what's playing, when it's playing, right? So you can see how it's ordered in by, I guess, the networks are on the left side, and on the right side, you establish time. Like, want to watch a soccer game? It starts at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock. So you can see how time is distributed always in a linear horizontal fashion. Vertical is how you occupy space with content. Content occupies the vertical space. Time is distributed the horizontal space. Presenting and comparing events over fixed durations. A time-based sequence is involved. What's the best representation? This is the appropriate form. And here's your 5-part essay. And this is the inverted pyramid. Okay. Introduction, narration, affirmation, negation, conclusion. That's just how they use an essay in the English literacy. And if you're familiar with writing and stuff, that's how they break it up. This is the inverted pyramid on the right. Most critical information. The middle is called helpful but not critical information. And on the bottom, you can specify things nice to know, but it's not really necessary information. Okay. This is just how you can kind of look at different forms that's being done. Okay. From a visual perspective, this is the dominant visual elements at the top. The focal points, items of equal importance, details for those who want more. So if you want more information, click here. You're not gonna basically put everything or splatter things on the page. You're gonna basically put things as a secondary measure for a link. Okay. We already covered this wireframe from before, so I'm not going to go over this. I just have it tucked in the same location. Doesn't hurt for you to read it again, but this is here for you to look at, okay? I'm not going to read this to you because I've covered this last week. It was just kind of fits together with today. All right, so please remember those things as they're very important going forward. When you guys create your navigation, your buttons, and you have to foster a sense of place and where it's going to go, so you have always be in control of how the users think and act, okay? Okay, so let's go ahead and this is called a basic app exercise XD. I'm going to download this one, desktop, just to show you what it is. And then we're going to create our own document this evening on creating a very basic mock-up of another type of game similar to the space one I mentioned earlier. We might even substitute that with the graphics. So today you'll basically know how to make this all on your own. And I'm giving you 3 weeks to do it, okay? I'll do it in 1 hour and a half, maybe an hour. Under an hour, I'll do this. Not to say I can, I'm not going to do a good job, by the way. It's going to be very simple, but you guys will spend the time to make the graphics, make it look nice, right? Finesse it and all kinds of stuff. So this is the basic app exercise. Let me just see what it is, just to remember. It's an XD file. All right, so let's really see how this works. Because you won't really make an app. You're going to do an app in Figma for your next one, but it's good to know how to do it in XD as well. I don't want to skip that part. So that's why I'm showing you this, to know how to do an app in XD, okay? So you start off with the home page, right? This is the home page. And the way I did this, I started with, let's say you pretend you make a new document, right? And you can say, I want to do an iPhone 14 Max Pro, right? You can pick your phone that you want to target or cater to, and then you start from there, right? Let's say I want us to do this one here, iPhone 14, 13 Pro. So I start with one artboard, right? And to duplicate, these other artboards, I just simply go ahead and, press, remember, Control D, Control D, Control D, right? Or copy and paste it, right? And what I did after was I basically put a logo in here. I typed the word logo with a type character. Thing about this is you can make it, bigger and smaller, just a type tool. But you can put a real logo, like maybe Bank of Montreal, okay, or Scotia Bank or another bank, right? That could be like a banking app, who knows? You're doing a prototype, so you can replace that with almost anything. And then it goes to the, what's this called? Hello section. Okay. And this has a login and a sign up page. Now, this is a very bare wireframe skeleton, right? Later on, you put a real logo, you put nicer buttons, you put a nicer background. No, this is like a little tutorial for you to learn from. No, this is just for you to know, okay? The assignment is the game. Okay, you're gonna make a nice interactive game with it, okay? But this is good to know. And also, if you want to make something like this for your portfolio, it doesn't hurt, okay? And this is another screen over here. Continue or log in with Facebook. And this another screen over here. And this has a welcome page. This could be like one of those, I don't know, Instagram apps, something like that. This has a bunch of images in a different tile fashion. By the way, I used all these elements from, guess where? The UI kit I gave you. Remember that file I gave you last week? Let me just show you to open it. This file that's available to you was used to make this, which is right over here. This one, Wires Mobile XD. So if you open that file, I copied and pasted parts and I put it into those artboards. So just to show you how I did it, I'm going to save this onto the desktop. Okay. And if I go to XD, right? Remember I have two files. This one here, right? So when I open this file here that I showed you, not to go back and forth with this, but I want to really show you as much as I can, and so you're totally comfortable with utilizing these sources. right? So this is what I gave you last week. This has everything, right? I don't mind if you borrow stuff from here. Copy and paste, right? So I took, parts of this. I can't remember exactly which one. I think it's the gallery. It's one of these, right? Right? Oh, here it is. I took this one here. See this one? I borrowed this one, right? Literally, I went copy, right? I went over here. I went paste, right? And I basically right clicked and I ungrouped it. And I was able to basically put stuff in here, double click. See, all these are separate elements. You can basically take this whole thing apart and fill it with different sources. Look, watch this. I'll put this image right here, drag and drop, right? And you can basically, and if you want to make it bigger, I double click. I can change the size of the image within the window, or you can change the whole window. If you double click, you can resize that. So you can, it's like InDesign in a way, but you're using XD. Very simple once you start. So I want to get you familiar and comfortable by using this technique to make an interactive assignment. Okay. So that's how I built this using the templates I gave you from this example. Copy and paste. Just bear in mind, you can't do this in Figma. So it's a purely like an XD thing because I invested so many years in building this course in XD and now they pulled the plug on it. So, that's fine. Now we've got to move on to Figma. That's all. But let's not forget it's still circulating. It's still in production and people still use XD and it's a good program still. As long as it works until they totally take it out, then we can say c'est la vie or goodbye. All right, so that's how I got these resources. And let me now shut this down and show you how I build this prototype app for you to mess around with. And this is the one I'm getting at, right? This one here. So I basically copied and pasted and I tweaked a few designs and I made my own app basically. Now, was part of my design. Now, here's what happened next. Once I designed it, I went to prototype. And the prototype is when I connected the buttons. So I said, hey, this button here, like the login button, went to the logging screen. The sign up button went to the sign up screen. You see, you can see all my navigation points. And how do I do that? I simply went drag and drop. Simple, right? You can make this go over here if I want. Okay, don't make it go to two different places. It's going to be confused. Stick to one location, right? So let's say I don't want this one. I can literally untag it and retag it. Very simple. This is all under prototype. So once you do design, you do prototype and it works. And then here you do like a tap trigger, right? Similar that we did last week. And then we did a transition. A transition is what happens when you go to that page. And it happens so fast, you'll just see like a smooth transition like that. We're going to do an auto animate transition where everything animates with the game that we're going to create. Now, if you want to see all the connectors, watch this. This is called a bird's eye view. I zoom out, I press Command minus, and then I do this. I select everything, and I can see all my connecting points at once. Not that this is I do this when I look at your projects to see how immersive you got into your interaction design. And don't try to do too much either, because it might be too confusing. Do as what's necessary. That's what I want to see. If you have a couple of links here, 2 links there, 3 links there, and they work the way it's supposed to, that's perfect. Right? So this is how this was created. Right? And then if I press the play button, watch this, I'll press the play button. If you watch very quickly how this animation came out to be, because I did what's called, remember, I linked this page to that page. Time 0 seconds, and this logo here. Look, see how it's up here? See how it's invisible? From this to this, it dropped because I told it to do what's called a time. Remember, like last week, the animation, it happened by itself. It wasn't on a tap. It was on a time. Means after I don't know, 0.3 seconds, it happens. That's the only time I use time. Everywhere else I used tap, 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 tap. The only time is in the beginning. If you notice, most apps, they have a little animation in the beginning, right? Something like a logo comes up, whether it's a design. That's the only time you can use animation if you do a realistic app. Okay, so let's see how this thing unfolds. Okay, so here we go. Press play. Watch quickly though. It's really fast, you see? Time. And then I go to log in or sign up. So I can go, let's do login, name and thing. I mean, you can simulate these. I've seen students do the dots and the animation. Not necessary. Just make it look like the way it's supposed to. And then you go continue and you go to the page, right? Then I can go to different parts of the images. I didn't make them all clickable, but I think I made this one clickable. So it goes to this picture here. I can go like next and previous and previous and previous and next and previous, right? I can also go here to go to the main menu from the bottom corner. I can do lots of different things. I can make these buttons go anywhere, everywhere I want to, and you can basically make this a real app. I open this on my phone, it'll work the same way, right? Let me save this locally very quickly to show you. So file, save. Let's just do save as. I'll call it 24. I always like to test this on a real device too. So make sure you download Adobe XD on your phone. You can open it up with your Adobe ID, which is your Humber number, okay? Your Humber ID number should open this. I haven't logged in a while, sorry, so let me just get this thing going. Okay, here it's open, right? Click on the first one. It says triple tap to access the menu. This is a default thing as a developer, or sorry, as a prototype default. So if I click here, what you're seeing is the exact, let me just press play. You're seeing the exact simulation of my screen. So now if I click somewhere wrong, it'll highlight the ones that are supposed to be clicked. It's very user friendly. So if you click where you're not supposed to, it's going to highlight the buttons. So let's go ahead and go to log in. It goes to log in. I go to continue. I go to the images. I go next, previous, right? I can go back to this one. So it's fully interactive. Like if I give this to somebody, they'll think it's a real app. You see what I mean? I love the simulation it does on your phone. That's why I love how XD presents their stuff. It's really clean, really neat. And if anybody was to see this, they'll think it's a real app, right? So basically, you can just do it here. As soon as you save it in your cloud, your creative cloud, you can access it on your phone once you get Adobe XD app on your phone. So make sure you do that when you have some time, please. All right. So I want you to practice this as well, just to get familiar with. But now let's really make like an actual game out of this, okay? Let's make a fun interactive thing. And we're gonna use that as the assignment example, okay? Any questions so far? Everything I'm opening so far lately on these examples, they're all located here under your class 7 folder, okay? Class 7 folder has the basic app exercise I just showed you, in case you want to mess around with it. You can open it, save it, open it on your phone and see what it looks like. You also have your wireframes that I gave you, and you also have the presentation I went over. So everything I did today is right under class 7. Yeah. You want to break first? Everybody wants a break? You guys are good? Okay, that's fine. We'll grab a break. Yeah, no problem. That means 7:22. Okay. So tell you what, let's do a break then. I'll pause the lesson. And then when you guys come back, I'll do the actual hands-on. Maybe you know what? It gives me time to prepare a few more things, which will be perfect. Okay, so having said that, let's grab a 15-minute break. And I'll see you guys. We'll start in 15 minutes. Okay, we'll start at 15. Hey, I'm just gonna stop right now. Let me just stop sharing and stop the video. Stop recording. Okay, perfect. Hey.